All right, some more progress getting done on the box right here. We got the 2 ports inside. We're starting to use some of this subfloor adhesive right here because apparently it's super strong. So I'm gonna try that. One of the guys in the group recommended using that and some fiberglass. So we have some fiberglass, this mat, this resin, marine grade polyester resin here. And this is some really, really thick marine grade fiberglass. So hopefully this really thick, it's almost like a triple layer woven fiberglass. When we put the stuff down, put the resin on it, it should be pretty tight. Also here, we're starting to lay out some for our double baffle boards to be cut, so we can go ahead and get those made. Once we get all this fiberglass in here, the baffles are gonna sit right here on this area here. You can see this is what our center port is gonna be like. It's 100 and something inches of port area. It don't look like much, but it's spread out across that whole width right there. So it ends up being quite a lot of port area, even though it's a nice slender line right there. So, and we're gonna start laying some resin. All right, we're gonna start mixing this resin up here. And apparently we have to add 1/4 of this bottle for 1 quart here. So we're gonna fill this up to 1 quart. All right, then we're gonna add 1/4 of this bottle. So this is 28 ounces right there, you can see. And this guy right here, we just gotta turn that to, what is that, 3 teaspoons?
Bam.
Yep.
Money.
That'll work. So we're gonna stir that up, start laying some mat, and get it all in there.
And then you'll start to smell it, and it'll change color a little bit when it's right. And when it's ready to start working.
All right, so we're gonna start applying this stuff inside the enclosure here. What you gotta do first is put down a sort of a tack layer. You wanna basically put this down on there. We gotta work kind of quickly, but I'm gonna try to get this. Basically, you paint it on like you would anything else, and then when you come back and you put your mat down on top of that, you got to pour it in and start spreading it out. So we're going to fold this in here. We're going to start on this part of the port face going down and into the back port of the box. Once you got it pushed down in the groove right there, we can start pouring the resin into the mat. Start pushing this mat down. And that's literally how fiberglass is made right there. A little bit of resin, a little bit of mat, and that's how you get that nice, strong, thick, sturdy coat right there. So if you ever seen fiberglass where it's done up like that, this is how you do it. This whole kit was $100 for a gallon and all of this mat, and it's very thick. So it's not really as expensive as I thought it was. I want to leave this top surface right here clear because I'm going to put the baffle on there, but we're going to go right up to that.
Push it in there, saturate it.
So they call this impregnating the mat, and they call it that because you're putting 100% of that resin inside of that mat. If you don't get it totally completely wet, it won't be very strong at all. How about that? Well, it's nighttime and the crickets are out, but we got some glass in there. It's hard to see, but basically the whole section of port, all 3 of those walls right there on both sides, they've got some glass laid down inside of them. I've got some extra pieces cut right here for next time. This stuff is really thick. It's about
4 layers.
Yeah, it's probably about 4 layers. So we've got it doubled up in a lot of spots along through there. So some of those have upwards of 8 layers, like in the corners and such. So should be pretty strong. But now we got to let this guy set up overnight, and we can start dealing with it tomorrow. I'll have to cut away some of the stray glasses that's where I don't want it to be, and then start laying the next set. The next set I'm going to do is actually going to be on the inside of this port, and that bottom section right there, I'm going to infuse the corner there into the port using some of that thinner mat that I got, and basically make all the bottom section be done. And then later on I'll have to come back and do the top section as well. At the same time, I'm going to start building the baffles, cutting the holes, and getting those ready to go in. Alright, so it's the next day, and I have the fiberglass here is sort of been set up overnight. So check this out. This is the fiberglass. It's hard as a rock. Every little piece of it is just super hard. You see right here, these pieces that went up on the side. So what I'm going to have to do is cut all these off, sand this stuff down. Basically, you can work on this stuff just like it's sort of wood. All these parts of the fiberglass where that resin hit is hard as a rock. So basically that's how you do fiberglass. You do like we did before, you lay it on there, you impregnate that resin, and it makes this super hard.